And now, entering the pitch with the grace of a seasoned pro and the enthusiasm of a rising star, it's Jack Harrison. This remarkable winger has become a cornerstone of Everton's attack, dazzling fans with his electrifying pace and impeccable ball control. A product of the prestigious Manchester United Academy, Harrison has carved out a name for himself in the Premier League with his incisive runs and eye for goal.
Saved by Fabianski, there's Forshaw. Harrison! And Leeds take the lead. Rafinha's corner. It's a good one too, and it's turned in. Well, Leeds think they're back in France. Waits for Rafinha, look at the space here. Harrison, hat-trick chance, and he gets it. What about this? Jack Harrison scores again, and for the third time, Leeds take the lead. And a first ever senior hat-trick for Jack Harrison. Harrison is the headline maker here. Harrison!
Test here for Trent Alexander-Arnold, and the shot will come in, and it's the equaliser. It's tremendous. Harrison piling in, and it is! They don't need any help now. Via the aid of a deflection, Jack Harrison has surely saved Leeds.
Forshaw is free at the back post. Should do it for Leeds United. Harrison. Surely they won't throw this one away.
Manonto heads for the byline this time. Cuts the ball back into the middle. Harrison! Yes! Get in there!
What a goal that is from Leeds United. Cut Wolverhampton Wanderers open, and Jack Harrison on target again.
Corner's taken quickly. Harrison in the penalty area. Right foot.
Yes! What a goal from Jack Harrison! Goodness me, that is superb! Up and over the goalkeeper, top corner of the net.
Lays it up for Rocker on the left foot. Low drive. Keeper makes the save. Harrison!
Yes! Jack Harrison follows up, and Jack Harrison puts Leeds back in the game. It's all square, it's level at 1-1. Rocker's shot, Harrison's reactions. The save was made, but Harrison pounced for 1-1.
Neto again clears, and what a finish that is from Harrison! And finally, this season, Everton are in a good place. And Goodison, as Jack Harrison comes up with a moment of magic.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the How to Become a Pro Footballer podcast. We got episode 112, special one. Traveled out to England to meet my buddy Jack Harrison. Thanks so much to his buddy Alex for setting it up. Thanks to Noah for the connection. Excited to have you on, brother. Thanks for being here.
No, thanks. Good to meet you.
Yeah, thanks for welcoming us to your house and then giving us great hospitality.
No, it's great to be here finally talking with you. I told you before, like I even saw you your clips on my Instagram page, on my Explore page since before I met you. So it's good to meet you and, get this thing going.
For sure. Yeah, man. So before we get into it, if you could just, introduce yourself, your name, where you're from, where you're currently playing, position.
So my name is Jack Harrison, currently playing at Everton on loan from Leeds United. I was born here in England, but I moved to the US when I was 14. I had a football scholarship out there, did a bit of my career out there and came back to England. So I'm here now, 27 years old, and looking to see what's next.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. Yeah, man. So if you could just take us through, how you got into football, why you got into football, a little bit about your upbringing.
Yeah, I think, as you know, like the football in this country, in England, is massive. It's a huge part of the culture. Yeah. So just growing up here in England, there's always been around it. I think my mum always says when I was 9 months old, I was walking, and by 10 months old, I was trying to kick a ball around the house and stuff like that. So it's always been a part of my DNA almost, and something that I've always had a passion for, and just always wanted to. As I grew older, and I went to Man United Academy when I was 6. Played a lot of like local football, like before that got scouted from a young age, and and so it's always kind of been a part of me and just something that I love doing.
Yeah, 100%, bro. Yeah, man. So how, like, when did you get into the academy system? I mean, I did some research before you got scouted by Man United, 6 years old. Mm-hmm. How did that come about?
So I was playing locally for a team, just like a youth team or something. And you know, you have scouts that come watch games at that age. It's crazy. But there was scouts from Bolton, Liverpool, and Man United that had like attracted the interest of my mom. At that age, I wasn't going to decide where I was going to go, but I was at all three of those academies at one point at the age of 6 years old, which sounds a bit nuts, but it's just how it is in this country, and I guess a testament to the football culture here. Mm-hmm. So I was scouted by those three teams, and then at the age of 8, you have to like sign a contract. Mm-hmm. You sign a 2-year contract to an academy, and just to say that you're just going to be with them now. Mm-hmm. And my mum chose Man United just because it was close. I'd be able to see her more often. She'd be able to take care of me and stuff. I wouldn't have to go and live with another family or something, being far away. So Man United was the best option for me at the time, and I went there when I was 6 years old and signed a contract at 8. So it sounds crazy signing a contract at 8. Yeah, that was kind of how we got started.
Unbelievable. So how was that experience? Like, obviously, the football culture here is unbelievable. What was your daily schedule at 8 years old?
I think at that age, it's just about getting touches on the ball and just trying to just play as much as possible and also enjoy it. I think from a young age, the biggest thing they focus on is like the technical ability, and so they used to give these like skills to do. So we'd have like all these touches on the ball, like just passing the ball between your feet, and then they'd say, okay, do skill number 1. You'd have to memorize all these skills, and it'd be like a rollover or something, and then go back to like touches, and then okay, do skill number 2, and they'd have everybody like in the age group doing all of these skills, and they say, okay, you can practice this at home, and so that's kind of how they run things here at Man United. It was a big thing about having a good technical ability, and they started that even from the age of 8 years old. So you do all of this stuff, and then you just play as much as possible. But yeah, I think that's like going there really built the foundations of the technical ability that I needed that I have even today. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, that's interesting because nowadays, I think a lot of these like technical coaches and like ball mastery stuff, it gets criticized, but that's interesting that they were building that from a young age.
Yeah, from way younger. They emphasize it, even more when you're younger, because you're you're so quick to learn things and pick things up quickly, and it kind of sticks with you throughout your whole career, really. I think that's probably one of the major differences between here in England and going to the US is that you have all these kids that have had so many more touches than any other kid at their age from 6 to 8 years old.
Yeah, 100%.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So obviously, like you said, I mean, and I saw you love working hard. Obviously, you're a major talent. Like you said, they had you doing this type of stuff at home, like homework. When did you pick up that drive to do individual training outside of team training? Like, did you use those skills outside and start doing that, or when did you pick up that extra work?
I think it's always been a part of me, and I probably get it from my mom. I think my mom was very competitive. She used to play rounders and different sports here in England, and she would always have this mentality about doing extra. So she would play rounders, and she'd even in her own time she'd go and throw the ball against the wall, just to have a really hard throw. And so that was kind of part of her genes, I guess, in a way. Her mentality, I just kind of adopted that from her. It was me and my mom for a long time. She's a single mother. I'm her only child, so growing up with her and kind of developing these characteristics and these mannerisms is just been a part of me. So even like I said, my mom would throw the ball against the wall. I'd go outside and kick the ball against the wall. Wow. I'd be doing that almost every day in my free time.
So you saw her doing that? You saw her?
No, I never saw her, but she would tell me stories. I used to go and do this. And, you can try and do that. So but it's also something that I love doing as well.
Yeah.
I absolutely love playing football. And
100%.
just kicking the ball against the wall by myself. I just love doing that. So.
How old were you when you started doing that? Just playing the ball against the wall?
Just really young, like even from the age of probably like 6 to even 14, right up until I left the academy. I was always looking to, go out and play football with my friends, go play football in the park, or if nobody was out playing at the time, if they were busy doing whatever, I'd just get a ball and just kick it against the wall, just over and over again, trying to kick it high, work on my touch as well, and just different things like that. But I had a passion for it, and I think that was probably something key. If I didn't really like football, then I probably wouldn't do it that much. But because I loved it, it was just almost a part of what I wanted to do.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think that's very interesting. Like, it's like, the simple training that got you to where you're at. Obviously, much more, but like we said, like, you develop those basics, you develop those foundations, and like one of the best things to do, like you said, is just go out. Obviously you have to love the game. You go out, you explore your touch, you explore the ball, you work against the wall. Now all of a sudden, Berbatov's posting on his Instagram about the wall and wall ball, and now people are starting to see it. But that's been like the way to improve your first touch for the test of time. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think it's just the most basic form of doing extra work, like you said. I think as a kid, if you can go out and kick the ball against the wall, 1,000 times a day or something, you're gonna be so much more better within a year's time than the next kid that's not doing anything. But the thing, you have to want to be able to do it, and that's the difficult part, I think. Yeah.
And where did you fall in love with the game? Like, did you have any inspiration by players, or how did you find that passion?
I think it's always been around me. Like my granddad, when my granddad was younger, he eventually went into the RAF and all this stuff, but he would, he had opportunities to have trials at Chelsea and stuff, and so he was a good player in himself. My uncle, the way my mum met my dad was because my uncle was playing against my dad, and so my mum met my dad through that. So my dad played semi-pro. He was really good striker in northwest part. Played some good teams for his level, and my uncle was the same. So it's I think it's always been a part of my family, and in school and stuff, whenever there was a break in school or anything, and you'd always just play football. So it's that's kind of how it came about, really. Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, so if we could just dive into Man United a little bit more, I think it's so interesting, especially for American listeners and other listeners who aren't familiar with the English system. Like, how did it work? Like, how often were you training? Were you going to school at the academy? Like, how did your day look like? If you could take us back to 8 years old, Jack Harrison, how did your day look? What time you wake? Like, were you getting that discipline right away? Were you getting those standards right away?
I think so. We would train probably more often than what you'd expect. I think, can't remember when I was 8 if it was the same, but as I got older, I remember going to training on Monday night. So you'd go to school like during the day or wherever you lived, if you're in a local school. Some guys would have like scholarships, so they'd live with their foster parents and then go to a local school. If they lived too far away, they'd go to like a local school near the academy, so then they could just go to school there, go back to their foster parents, then get to training later on. And the training would be like, I think you usually have to be there about like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and it'd run until about 8:30. But that was every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. You'd train in the mornings on Saturdays, and then you'd have like games on the Sunday. So it's a lot to ask for parents, especially because I remember I would go to school in the morning. I'd have to get the train into Manchester, where my mum used to work. So she'd have to drop me off in the morning at school, and then she'd go into Manchester. I'd meet her in Manchester after, which actually helped her out a lot. But I'd have to wait for her to finish work, and then walk through Manchester, find my own pre-training meal and stuff. It usually entailed like having a pasty or a sandwich or something from Greg's, which is a little shop here. And then she'd take me to training. She'd wait 2 hours for me to finish training, and by the time I showered up and stuff, you'd be talking 9, 8:30. Then drive home. It was probably about 45 minutes home as well. So you're getting home at 10:15. You're like, what should we have to eat? Sometimes if my mum was so exhausted, she'd just, you want to just get a chippy or something. So we ended up having like chips for tea and stuff. Not the healthiest, but it's just something quick and cheap that we could just, grab, and then, you're home 10:30, you got to go to bed, you go and school the next day, doing the same thing. So I think for my mom, it was a lot, but I have to thank her a lot, because without her kind of sacrificing her free time and her life to advocate for me, then I wouldn't be kind of where I am today.
100%. Yeah, and I like fully respect that about you, and I read that in like every single article I read and every interview, how much you attributed to your mom, and I fully respect that. And you said that she taught you how to be humble, and you can see like right away when you met you, obviously like big player in the Premier League, big talent, and you welcomed me into your home nicely, had no problem. So I appreciate that, and I think people notice that, and that obviously goes a very long way.
Yeah, I mean, it's something my mom's emphasized from when, before I can remember. I think I remember one specific thing. I was in a tournament and ended up, I scored, and I ended up doing like a front flip in the corner or something, and she came up to me after the game. She's like, "Don't ever do that again."
Yeah, wow.
So, because she didn't want me to be like, showing off or anything like that. So, it's just kind of like how she is. I think, she likes she raised me in the right way to,
100%.
To be respectful and be humble and not being like showing off, because nobody likes to show off, So
100%.
if you can, have these good qualities or, be a good character, then it just makes it that much better. If you do well, then people will, respect you even more for it. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, she kept you very grounded, and that actually brings me to something that I read, in a Daily Mail article, where it says there are kids who probably think they have already made it, but I was the opposite. I wanted to listen and remember knocking on Frank's hotel door for advice. I've been brought up to be humble, so I think having that ego and confidence on the pitch was something that maybe challenged me. It was difficult to bring out. So I think that's super interesting. Obviously, we're talking about the New York City days, and we'll get into that, but I wanted to put that at the beginning of our podcast because it just shows the influence your mom had on you. And I think it's very interesting to try to find that balance of having that flair and ego on the pitch. Like you said, I saw you said something, you watched the Zlatan interview and you saw how he's just not scared when he goes onto the pitch.
Yeah.
So, and I think what your mom taught you, it's huge, because obviously we see a lot of young players nowadays who, they, let's say, come from nothing and they make it to the top and they have all this money, and then they start to get an ego, and then they start to become arrogant. So I think that balance is huge. So how do you strike that balance of having that flair and ego and confidence on the pitch, and then off the pitch remaining grounded?
It's a good question. I think it's tough. I think everybody has their own kind of way of showing it. I think you look, a lot of kids these days, they almost have too much ego, or they're at a level that, they could be improving, but they think that they're happy where they are, they're already satisfied. And so, I don't know, there's a lot of things that come into it, the motivation, like what inspires you, but then also, being able to switch it on and off. I think, when you go into situations in games, you need to have some level of arrogance, some level of ego, but within control. I think everyone has their own personality to show, and it's about showing that, but also, being able to flip it around and be like, just be humble about it and be respectful and still willing to do the things in the right way and work hard. And I think it's hard. It's not easy. I think you see so many players these days that, find it hard to find that balance, just like you said. And there's a lot of things that can influence that, the people around you, how much money you're in or whatever. And I think it's tough. It's really hard, but in order to get to the top level, like you need to find your own balance, your own kind of way of working through these things.
Yeah, 100%. Like, even we were talking before, obviously you guys are starting your own podcast, and you're like, other guys are like this, other guys are like that, and I think it's all about like embracing your own swag, let's say, like your own style.
Yeah.
And like people either they want to, ride with you, they want to jam with you or not, and I think that's what it's all about. And like you said, obviously on the pitch, it's the same thing. Like we were talking about, training styles with different coaches, and we'll get into that more. But like you said, it's like all about finding your own way that makes you perform your best. And, you find your own routine so you can perform on the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. And people have their own different paths. I mean, you know, you look at the way I got to where I am and my pathway, and you compare it with, you know, someone from England. We got to the same point, but all through different ways, and you have a lot of different experiences that can, you know, affect your personality or your character and so many different, you know, parts of life. So I think that you have your principles that you can kind of keep the same, but like you said, it's showing your own swag, showing your own flair, and but having the ability to, you know, maybe switch it on and off. You know, when you do walk on the pitch, a lot of people talk about these days about having almost like a split personality or an alter ego that you know, when you walk on the pitch, okay, like this is where I turn into like this kind of person, or I feel this kind of way. And you know, I've spoken with some psychologists where they tell you to do something with your hand to kind of make you feel that way. You like charge up your hand motion, and you it's like a practice. So within your practice, you do your hand motion, you think of all these things that make you feel a certain way, and then you use your hand gesture to remember yourself into that kind of mode, really. So then when you walk on a pitch, when you do that hand motion, you remind yourself of you know, how you're supposed to be feeling and what you're supposed to be thinking like, and you know, when you come off, then it's, you know, you're back to your normal self again. But, there's a lot of different things that can work for some people. I think, you know, a psychologist is another option, just to help people work through those things. I think me personally, I'm quite open-minded. I like to, you know, explore pretty much anything that can help me out in different ways. And you know, I've kind of been down the psychologist path and spoken to some different people, and it's been really interesting what you can do, or with, you know, working with different people.
100%. Yeah, I mean, there's something that I always go back to. There's this neuroscientist that I love listening to, Andrew Huberman, and he says the highest performers have the ability to switch on and off. You know, and it's the same thing like a lion. You know, lions, they spend most of their day resting, but when it's time to hunt, they hunt. You know what I mean? 100%. So I think, like, personally for me, like, as I get older, and I, you know, observe football more, you know, through clients, through myself, through just being around it, I think the mental part of the game is probably one of the most important. Obviously, you have to have the ability, you have to have the talent. But yeah, like, if, you know, one of the most common questions I get is like, you know, Rick, I'm so good in team training, I feel so good in individual training, but when games come, I just feel so much pressure. I lose confidence. I feel like I've never played the game before. So to, like, younger listeners listening and watching, you have any, like, tips for them or something that you do, like, to get yourself into that zone and flip yourself into that alter ego, that different personality?
Yeah, I mean, like I've just said, there's a bunch of different ways that you can do it. There's, you know, if you're working with a psychologist, you can use hand gestures to charge that emotion up. One thing that I found that really works for me recently is I was working with a mental coach, Kenji Summers, towards the end of last year, and you know, when pressures are high in the situation that we were last year, you know, we were fighting relegation battle, and you know, you have these high pressure games, have a lot of intensity. I think the breath work is huge to kind of manage the anxiety or that kind of stress that, you know, maybe you might not even be aware of. And I think, because in my head, I'm always telling myself, I'm good, you're good to go, always next thing. And I think just taking a step out of that, just taking a moment to kind of be present, breath work is huge for that. And he kind of helped me, you know, with certain things that you can do leading up to a game. I think different forms of, like, meditation, for instance, leading up, but I found going into these high pressure games, it helped me notice that everybody in the changing room was so so pumped up, almost like too much. You know, the fact that you start, like, even in the games, it started to show you make decisions on the ball that, you know, maybe is not part of, like, your position. You need to be, like, calm and composed in a lot of situations in football, and people were just too rash and too quick to kind of make bad decisions, really. So having that time to, you know, have use the breath work, I think I used to do it right before going out for warm-ups and stuff, which is crazy because some people think, like, yeah, all right, we're going out for warm-ups, like, let's play loud music, let's get pumped up, da-da-da. But I think that's good in a way, you do need that, but also having some sort of breath work to, okay, you can bring that intensity, but you can be calm and focused as well at the same time. And like using that was big for me last year. But yeah, I that's one thing that I've used, but there's so many things out there. I mean, you do a lot of research online and what works for footballers, what doesn't, and every footballer is different, and it's just about finding out what works best for you.
100%. Yeah, I love that. I mean, one thing that came to mind, one thing that I've been on lately is how can you be calm in the chaos? Like you said, I mean, obviously, you're in crazy stadiums, crazy fans, crazy pressure. Like, can you find that calm in the chaos? Because one thing that you just kept saying is like, and we both know the most important thing is the mindset, but then how does that mindset affect your decision making? So like you said, like if you're pumped up and you're amped up on too much caffeine and you're pumped up with the music, you might make, like you said, rash decisions, impulse decisions, instead of being calm in the chaos and trying to slide into that.
Yeah.
So I think that's huge,
Yeah, I think it just goes back to what we talk about, finding the balance. I think working with Kenji really opened my mind to, excuse me, this side of things and the mental side. He's actually, his mentor is George Mumford. I don't know if you know.
Okay, yeah, I've heard him. Yeah.
So he wrote, The Mindful Athlete, which Kenji got me reading, and that kind of talks about, calming the chaos, being the eye of the hurricane, and when everything's going crazy around you, how can you, center yourself and just control what you can control and get rid of all the noise, basically.
Yeah.
And George has worked with the likes of Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, so he's right up there with, people that he's worked with. He has a lot of respect from a lot of people around him, and Kenji kind of, was able to help me in the same way that kind of he helped, Kobe and Michael Jordan, really. So that was huge for me, and yeah, I think I have a lot of respect for people that, are willing to kind of go out and search for different things, because it's hard to, like you said, a lot of people have egos and they think, oh, I know what's best, I'm going to do this. This is what works for me. But I think you can have that, but also have an open mind to a lot of different things that, that work for other people. You never know what might be able to work for you.
100%. And that's also another reason why I pulled up that quote, because I think it's so important to go up to guys who you've looked up to and mentors and soak up all the knowledge. And like you said, you're open-minded, you're obviously willing to learn new things to improve your performance. And I think that's the number one thing, like especially for young players. Like I see it, like players think they're too good to like learn from their elders and veterans who've been in the game. So, I do a lot of listening to like Rio's podcasts and a lot of other footballers, and he always talks about how like, the younger players who would come up to him and try to soak up the knowledge where they're at now, and then the other ones who had egos and didn't. And I think that's huge. So with that being said, are there like any other athletes that you looked up to, any Kobe, these type of guys growing up? Or?
It's tough from like a mental side. I only kind of I think I realized too late, maybe. I think I wish I'd almost worked on it from a younger age. Just the mental side of things. I'd always looked up to, like Ronaldinho and like Zidane and all these players, and I would watch their clips over and over and over again to try and replicate what they would do. But it wasn't until I got older and I came back to England, I was actually like faced with, mental challenges, and if I'd have maybe worked on it a bit before, I could have been a bit more prepared for that. And I think, I didn't realize how important it was until like a later point. So I think, having that self-confidence is huge. I'm trying to think back to what you asked me now.
Yeah, no, just about like Kobe and Michael.
Anyone who I looked up to. Yeah. I think there's different people that I go through like different phases. Like I was even when Conor McGregor came on the scene. I think a lot of what he does is frowned upon, but I think there are also like parts of him that each athlete can use. I think he talks about this, almost manifesting what he's going to do and having that vision in his mind and doing everything, working so hard to achieve that.
Yeah.
I really admire like different parts of, what he's done. There's, all the, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant working with George's apprentice almost towards the end of last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think something like you said, like these guys like Connor, Michael, Kobe, Zlatan, Ronaldo, they all have their own swag, and they almost manifest their own confidence, And I think like there's so many people nowadays that will like slam these guys and say like they're like arrogant and they're narcissistic. But for me, it's like if you do all that work, if you're waking up like guys like Kobe at 3 a.m., training 4 times a day, Ronaldo doing all the things he did, you kind of almost deserve to show, for it, like you deserve it at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you know yourself that you've put in the work and you've prepared yourself to be the person or to perform the way that you do, then you're going to have confidence in your preparation. And I think that's, a big part of, the likes of Ronaldo. Everybody is aware of, how much work that he's done to get to the point that he is now. And so I think when you as an individual, you start to, work on these things and you say, okay, if I want to achieve this, how can I be the best at this? And then you start, prepping all these things. You feel so much better when that moment comes. 100%. And so you're more confident in yourself. And that's, I think a big reason why I like to make sure I'm working hard. I've always said, my mom's always said that that's the least that you can do is work hard, and then everything else will come after that, whether it's, extras or doing whatever to get yourself in the fittest possible way that you can be, or the technical ability, or doing extras or this and that, whatever, just getting yourself as well prepared as you can to arrive at that point. So when you do perform, it's like, okay, I have confidence in what I've done up to this point. Now it's time to show that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, what they say is luck is preparation combined with opportunity. So you make your own luck.
That's a good saying. Absolutely. Yeah, make your own luck.
Exactly. So yeah, bro, 8-14 at Man United. What are some of the top things that you learned, being at United Academy? I mean, obviously you're seeing these first team guys on the other side and seeing their names on the wall, their pictures on the wall. What did you take from that experience?
Top 3, it's a tough one. I think the biggest thing that I can take away about being in the academy is that the technical side of things, they really help build the foundations of what I have today. And without being there for so long, having all the touches and everything, and putting in the work, basically I didn't realize it was work at the time because it was just enjoyable. I used to love just going playing football, but it's actually work to get to where I am today. 100%. So the technical ability is definitely one. I think the other thing to realize is that in the academies, especially I think here in England, is so competitive, and you have to have this edge about you to kind of get through that. I think it's tough because you have so many talented players in your age group, and there's a lot of things that come with that. Like there'd be a lot of kids that their parents would put so much pressure on them. Like if they didn't play well in the weekend, then I remember seeing some parents like going off at their kid, and the kid would be crying, coming off the pitch that they just played football in, and it's so much pressure from such a young age. I think I'm grateful really because my mom or my dad didn't really put that kind of pressure on me. They just wanted me to enjoy football, and that's like I said, is from a young age is what it's all about, is just enjoying it. I that would probably be the third thing is just learn to enjoy football. Just 100%. Like I said, from a young age, it's all about that, enjoying it, and just building your passion for it. If you want to get to a top level, you have to be able to enjoy what you're doing, and so I think being from that age at least, I think those are probably 3 things right off the top of my head that I can think of.
For parents listening, because obviously seem to have been raised very well. Like, what are some things that you can give advice to parents? Because obviously you discovered the love for yourself, but just like you said, sometimes parents can overpressure their children, and you and me both know the outcome of that is never good, you know? So what's like some advice you can give to football parents, you know, watching, who, let's say, want their child to be a pro, or they see his or her talent? What can they do not to overpressure, but to actually help their child, let's say, find the love?
That's a tough one. I'm not a parent myself, but I think one thing that my mom did was, you know, she prioritized me over everything. Like, she literally made so many sacrifices to, you know, she didn't have, you know, a life outside of her work or taking care of me really, but she did it for so long. She you know, she made me her number one priority, and you know, taking care of me. And I think it's hard, you know, as a parent. I'm not saying, you know, it's easy to do that, but I think definitely, you know, sacrificing some of your own life to make your kid's life better is you know, an important one. I think the other thing is, you know, if it's something that you as a parent want, it's almost being patient with it too. I think, you know, for the kids, you don't have to, if they're, you know, they're not where you think they should be at, you know, 6 or 8 years old or something, then, you know, there's always time to kind of improve and get to the point that, you know, that, I don't know, you might be satisfied with or happy with. But, you know, I think that's the beauty about football, is that, you know, there's so many different stories about, oh, this kid's been in the academy since he was 6 years old, or you know, this kid only started playing football when he was 15 or 16 or something, and there's still opportunities and different ways to get to a top level. So I think patience is a huge thing, and yeah, like you said, not pressuring them to achieve what you want, but almost, you know, advocating for what the kid wants, and trying to help, you know, direct them and make good decisions, and, you know, build good characteristics and stuff. That's probably more important than, you know, the parent wanting the kid to make it pro.
100%. Yeah, just like you said, I mean, everyone has a different path, and yeah, just like you said, I think it's about not over pressurizing, over forcing it, and just letting things happen naturally. And that takes me to a point. I mean, I read, you know, at 12, your mom started introducing you to the possibility of going to the U.S. and getting a scholarship, and you didn't want to because you want to play for the first team. You know, you saw guys like McTominay making that path for themselves. But obviously at 14, you left Man United to go to Berkshire. What made you make that decision?
Yeah, it was a tough one. I think being part of the academy at Man United, they almost instill this mentality that, you know, the only thing that you really care about is making it to the first team, and you have to do everything to achieve that, and you kind of get really narrow-minded. And, you know, being in the academy, you're just there, you know, so many times throughout the week that it like I said, it creates this narrow-minded mentality. And so, you know, when I was about 12, my mom, she was, you know, walking through the academy building, and you see every age group has like their own picture of, you know, 20 to 30 kids or whatever on the wall, and this. But, you know, as you look at the kids, like this, you don't probably reckon, you might only recognize maybe 1 or 2 if you're lucky out of each age group, and the rest of the kids that you never hear anything about. And I think it really kind of hit my mom as that, wow, you know, out of my age group, only 1 is gonna make it if you're lucky, and then all these kids, they have nothing to fall back on. Like, you put so much time and effort into, you know, going to the academy from 6 to, you know, 16 or 18, whenever they get the contracts, and if they don't want you, then, you know, you that's it. You either have to go try out for another team, but, you know, being dropped from the academy is like mentally tough to take, you know, especially after you put so much time and effort into achieving that. If they just turn around and say, no, we don't want you, then that can affect, you know, kids in different ways. And, you know, I've seen players that have gone through all of that time, and, you know, they don't even play anymore, or you know, they're playing lower league or something, maybe, you know, not where they want to be, but it's affected them in a different way. And I think that was what hit my mum basically, and so she wanted to explore different options or what could be beneficial for me. Started looking at some scholarships here in England to achieve a good education or just to have something to fall back on. But where she found the most success was through the US, and having a football scholarship out there where you were able to still kind of pursue your dreams of being a professional, but you'd have the academics to back you up if you got injured or for whatever reason you don't play football anymore. And so that was kind of what instilled her to think of that. So when she introduced the idea to me at 12, I was like, no, I don't want to leave the academy. It's not good. It's like everyone always talks about the US about having a terrible standard of football. So I was like, no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. And then after she showed me some things online, I thought this could actually be a good opportunity. Let me just have an open mind. She helped me to get out of this narrow mind, open my mind up a little bit, and she said, look, like just go out there. You can visit. We did all the testing and stuff, so that was in itself was a whole process. Doing the SSATs and everything. I'd never taken anything like that. Going to London to take a 3-hour test was not it, right? She said I came out, I was white as a sheet. So preparing for that was a whole process in itself. Probably took about a year, and then I got accepted to Berkshire schools, and they have like a visit day for kids that are already out there that can go and visit, see if they want to go to the school or not. So this day came up, but at the time we didn't have enough money for my mum to visit at the same time. So she said, just go. You can. John Moody was a coach there at the time. He invited me to stay with him, and she said, just go, and if you like it, great, you can go there. But if not, we'll come back and we'll figure something out. So at the age of 14, I went out there. John Moody picked me up in the airport and everything, and took me to his house, welcomed me into his home, and I was able to attend a few classes, and I actually played football with the team there as well. They'd organised some like small-sided games and stuff. So, and the standard was so much better than what I expected. So that was like a big shock to me. I was like, wow, like I don't know what everyone's talking about in England about the standard being here. Like you had people from all over the world bringing their own kind of culture and their own like flair to the game, like we spoke about, and but then not only that, but I would be able to achieve a good education as well at the same time. So I went back to England, and I was buzzing. I was like, Mom, I want to go. So
complete change.
Complete change. But it's just having that open mind to kind of explore that and see it in person, and just see what it would actually be like, and not just from what someone else is telling you. So seeing that firsthand was important, and I came back to England, and I said, yeah, let's do it.
Nice. So how long did you spend there?
I probably spent about 5 days. I think I went to a few classes, and it wasn't like long at all, but it was long enough that it would be able to change my mind.
Sure. So what was the turnaround? You came back to England, and then when did you head back?
Yeah, so that was like the springtime. I came back to England. I was still contracted with United at the same time. We had to tell them, look, like we're leaving pretty much, and they a lot of people would question my mom, like even part of the academy, why are you sending your kid to America? She used to hate when people said, why are you sending your kid somewhere? She's like, I'm not sending him anywhere.
Exactly. Not a package.
Exactly. She likes to refer to it as like, there's an opportunity, she opened the door, and it was up to me whether I walked through it or not. And I think that's a good analogy for it represents the situation. But a lot of people made her feel really bad, about giving me that opportunity. But to be fair to her, she stuck with it, and she didn't let anybody change her mind, because she knew within herself that it would be the best thing for me. And ultimately, it's gotten me to where I am today. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So how many years did you spend at Berkshire?
So I went to Berkshire for 4 years, and then I was recruited by Wake Forest, so I committed there in my junior year.
Awesome. Yeah, so obviously 4 years at a prep school, boarding school, away from home, away from family, teaches you a lot. What are some things that you learned from Berkshire? Because I think they're pretty strict over there.
Yeah, they're definitely strict. First thing was doing my own washing, doing my own laundry. That was the first thing I had to learn. So going over 14, you have your roommate and stuff, and my roommate was from a different part of Korea, I think, and that was an experience in itself. Danny Kim, if he's watching. But he was the funniest guy. Like, he would always, help me out with certain stuff, and it was just nice to kind of interact with someone that's from a completely different side of the world. But you'd be in a dorm with like your friends pretty much, and so yeah, it kind of taught me to be punctual. That's for sure. Like being to class on time or something like that. You get like points for being late. If you had a certain amount of points, they send a letter home, or have all these sanctions for not doing certain things. And the time management was key. I think going to Berkshire, everything is quite structured. You have your classes from I think it was 8 o'clock in the morning until 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then you'd have your afternoon activities. So you'd have to make sure you were on time for everything.
Were you a fan of schoolwork?
I have to say I wasn't. I had to kind of build that side of things. Like, my mom had obviously introduced the idea to me because of the academics, and in England I'd always kind of neglected it a little bit. I used to use I was at training with at the academy to kind of get out of a lot of homework assignments and stuff. So when I tried the same things in the US, it didn't work.
Really?
Excuse me. My coach Moody would actually, I think the first semester I was there, he got really mad at me because my first semester report had like 2 unsatisfactory effort grades, and it was really hard to get a U like in the class. So he really cracked down on me for that, and helped me kind of be punctual and manage the time, and build the right characteristics and develop these habits to get in a good form of things when it came to schoolwork, not just the football side of things, because the football side I did absolutely everything to try and be the best, but I had to learn how to do that again with the educational side.
For sure. Yeah, something really funny that I actually told Alex when I first spoke to him on the phone. I actually first heard about you because I was also going to go to Berkshire. And I remember I went in, Moody was always a nice guy, brought me into his office, told me about you right away. We got a Manchester United guy here. You guys were playing another school, one of the great schools in the Northeast as well. And we went to watch your game. I remember you were a freshman. I guess you were 14,
Yeah.
And dude, I just saw your touches, and I turned to my stepdad. I'm like, dude, this guy's gonna be a player, man. Now we're here, man. Like 13 years later, interviewing, man. Small world, man.
Small world.
Unfortunately, I didn't get in because of my grades, but that's something else, man.
Yeah, I don't know how I did either.
But.
No, that's crazy stories. Yeah. Did you go somewhere else? Or?
Yeah, I went to Shattuck St. Mary's. I don't know if you heard of that. Yes, it's like a boarding school as well.
Nice.
My parents wanted to ship me off as a package. They didn't care. They didn't care if they sent me away. It's fine. Send them away. Get them some discipline.
You're one of the naughty kids, huh?
Yeah, exactly, so yeah, man. Obviously, going from Man United to let's say a prep school in the U.S., like you said, people look down upon it. But what were the differences between Man United Academy and like the standards at Berkshire in terms of football, and like how did you keep that professionalism from Man United and kind of drag it over to Berkshire?
Yeah, I think it probably grew more as I kind of I got older within the school. I think towards the end of my time, I think even I was helping organize like a Saturday night team with Moody. We'd create like a small five-side team, and we'd go and play, and Moody was drivers to like a local like almost indoor bubble in the winter, just so we could continue playing, because the prep school, and I'm sure it might be the same at St. Mary's, but you'd have your sport from in the fall, and then you'd have to do a different sport in the winter and a different one in the spring. So as soon as I think it was like November time came around, you'd be done with football. So for me it was like okay, how can I find a way to continue playing? And so with Moody introducing this idea of, you know, playing on a Saturday night, other people would be going to like the school parties or the school activities that they organise on the weekend, and you know, I'd get a few friends and we'd go and play in like a Saturday night league, and we called it Blackrock, and that's kind of like where the idea came from. I think Moody's done a fantastic job of developing that. And you know, giving kids, you know, opportunities to play in the off season was crucial. So that was how that started, and then even you know, we'd organise some like indoor football as well as in the spring and during the winter too. So it was too cold. It was freezing. You know how it is in New England, like it gets freezing outside. So we'd go to like the basketball pitches, you know, on the weekend, and we'd go and play like small sided. And it started off, I think, me and this senior would do like 1v1s and stuff, or it'd be, you know, 3 of us. It's, you know, 2v1 or whatever. And then as you know, Moody recruited, you know, people with the same mentality of wanting to develop and be better in football. It just kind of grew and grew and grew. That's so awesome. By the time I was a senior, we'd have like 3 teams of like 11v11, like playing in the indoor on the basketball pitch. So that was, I guess, kind of what I took over. I think that I had a lot of friends around me with the same mentality to kind of achieve the same thing, and had that passion for football as well. So that helped too. I think being around the right people to help you achieve, and you can drive each other along. You know, when you're in that environment, I don't think you realize how important it is having the right people around you and that want to achieve the same thing. And if you're constantly pushing each other and being competitive with each other, you can improve your ability like that as it is anyway. But yeah, I think the difference was, I think the biggest difference in Man United, there was obviously a lot of just English kids, so the culture was just primarily English. You going to Berkshire, Moody had recruited kids from all over the world, so all different parts of Africa, different parts of Europe, and you know, you had you know, North and South America. It was you know, all these kids had come together at Berkshire to kind of, you know, achieve the same things. We had to learn about each other's cultures, and it was amazing seeing how certain people would play. I remember some kids coming from, you know, Zambia and Zimbabwe and stuff, and they just being able to see what they were able to do on the ball. I would pick up. I was like, wow, that's you know, that's something that I could maybe incorporate into my game as well. So seeing the diversity within the team is something that I'd never experienced before. So kind of adapting to that, and you know, kind of taking certain things from different people's game was, I don't know, it was interesting for me.
Yeah, that's very interesting, man. And then it kind of takes me to the point where it's like, that's probably prepared you so well for where you're at now. You know, the different teams you've gone to, you know, just being able to, I think one of the biggest things as well is just, you know, being part of the guys when you go to a new team, you know, finding that banter, finding that group. And when you're well cultured, you know, and you've traveled around and met new people, and new cultures, you get along with people better. You see that from their perspective, and I think that's really important. And I'm sure that's prepared you for where you're at now, being in that, you know, diversification of cultures.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important. I think it just comes back to having an open mind, and you know, traveling really helps you to do that. You know, experience it and learning about other people's cultures. But I think, like you said, going to Berkshire and being able to see the diversification from such a young age, and being able to adapt and talk to whoever it is from around the world, and then, you know, talking to those guys it's important.
Absolutely. So yeah, take us to 2015. You won Gatorade Player of the Year and recruited by Wake Forest. How is that? What for people who are unfamiliar with that? What does Gatorade Player of the Year, you know, consist of? How do you get that?
You're gonna make me sound like a big head now. So National Gatorade Player of the Year, you have each player for the state as well. So they have State Player of the Year. Gatorade do a whole kind of production where, you know, they'll give awards out for, you know, players that are recognized as the best player in the state. And so I had that as a junior, and then as a senior as well. But you also automatically get put towards like the National Player of the Year, which is, you know, best player in the country is essentially. I think I'm not sure what entails in that, whether it's, you know, it's schools or club or whatever, but yeah, my senior year, I was presented with the National Gatorade Player of the Year,
Wow.
which was a whole day in itself. The video is online on YouTube if you want to watch it. It was an incredible day, probably one of the best days of my life.
Wow.
It's right up there.
That's awesome.
But yeah, my mom was able to come out and surprise me as well. They
awesome.
flew my mom out to be there and had a whole dinner with the people around me, the people closest around me that helped me kind of achieve that up to that point. The people who I had closest was all at dinner, and they all said something nice about me as well. And
did you feel that was like a culmination of all your hard work? From Man United Academy, the years at Berkshire, all the extra work. Did you feel like that was a nice climax to?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was right up there. It's hard, like thinking back how I felt at the time. It was all just a big shock because they do this big like surprise thing and everything. But yeah, it was definitely gratifying knowing that going out there it wasn't a mistake almost. I think
100%.
Even I always talk about right up until I went to New York, I'd always kind of thought about what happened, what would have happened if I'd have stayed at Man United Academy.
Yeah.
But having these little like milestones along the way definitely helped kind of give me that certification that what I did was the right thing. And then ultimately when I did go to New York, I have absolutely no regrets about what I've done so far. Nice. It's been completely the right decision. My mom has been a massive part to help me get there, and I have no reason to look back now. I've when I got to New York, I achieved what I wanted to achieve being a pro, and then it was like, okay, what's the next thing now? So yeah, it was definitely a milestone that kind of helped.
It was the first step.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, bro. Then over to Wake Forest. Got recruited by Wake Forest. 22 appearances, 8 goals, 11 assists. Scouted by NYCFC. It was traded. The pick was traded, right, with Fire.
Yeah.
And you went to NYC.
Yeah, I was supposed to end up going to Chicago. It's funny. I always talk about on the draft day where I think because I'd played at Manhattan Soccer Club in New York, and they ended up being as part of like NYCFC's academy or something, like as they became a team in the MLS. They were aware of me just through that anyway. So I think they'd even tried to get me as a homegrown before the draft. But
those New Yorkers always trying to make a bid extra.
But the league didn't allow it. The MLS didn't allow it. So I went through to the combine. I went through to the draft, and I always find it funny how I got picked by Chicago, and I'd put my Chicago scarf on. I'd go on the camera, and I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm really excited to go to Chicago."
Wow,
and then,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it might be online somewhere. But I was, I'm really excited to go there. And then they just told me to kind of hold off 30 minutes because they had an idea that New York might make a move for me or might not. So they just held me to the side before going into all the media stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then so 30 minutes later they say, they announced, NYCFC has traded for Jack Harrison. And so I had to go take my Chicago scarf off, go put my New York one, and go back on the same camera and be like, I'm really excited to go to New York,
Wow. Funny, man. So were you hyped for that? Obviously, got to play with Viera, Pirlo, Lampard.
Yeah, absolutely. I think deep down, even before the combine, before anything, the New York was where I wanted to be. I'd played with Manhattan Soccer Club for a while. I had one of my friends that has been kind enough to let me stay at his house throughout the summer, so I could continue playing in tournaments and playing for Manhattan Soccer Club. So I'd always kind of been around New York, and it felt like my second home in a way. And so with NYCFC, I don't even have to mention the names that were there, but that also attracted me too. So it just kind of seemed like the perfect fit. So before the draft, I was like, if I could go anywhere, it'd be NYCFC.
Wow, unbelievable. So yeah, man, obviously under Viera, you had the guys like, top guys to look up to. How was it, under Viera? I heard you say in the beginning he was a little scary figure, but then as he came on, you got used to it.
His presence is so intimidating, honestly. I think as a young player going into my first professional environment, like I'd always kind of not been like scared of a coach, but always wanted to like do everything to kind of please him or do everything that he was asking from me. And so, going to New York, I don't know what it was, but every time he walks in the room, I always had this feeling that I'd done something wrong. I'd be like, oh God, like don't look at him in the eyes, but he was a really nice guy. Like even after games, he'd always go around to like we'd be in the family section after having food or whatever. He'd go around to every family and introduce and say hi and just be a nice guy. And then on the football side of things, I'd go into his office. I could ask him about certain things. We'd watch my clips sometimes, and he'd kind of help me decide on what I could have done better. And I had no reason to be like scared of him or like intimidated, but it took me a full year just to kind of get used to being around him and some of the other guys too. Like it was I've always been like that, like just shy, but almost like just like starstruck by just being around these guys.
For sure. So obviously being under Viera, great player, great manager. What are some things you took away from him playing at NYC?
I think he was such a great manager when it came to like the younger players. Like he really tried to like help them out, and I loved his playing style as well, because I think he'd come from Man City with the younger guys with CFG, and so a lot of his methodology was based around that and almost playing like Pep, if you like playing out the back and trying to do certain things. So I think tactically, like it definitely kind of made me aware of what it required to be at the professional level from a tactical point of view. And not just in the attacking bit, but like how to defensively be organized as well. I think was obviously really important. At the top level, I think if one guy's slacking on the team or not doing what he's supposed to, whether it's with the ball or without it, then you're letting the team down and you're exposing yourself or creating a weakness somewhere where where there shouldn't be. So going into like my first professional environment, that kind of saw the importance of that, because right up until that point it was like, okay, you have like some sort of tactics, but it's mainly just about you expressing yourself and your personality. So I think it's I mean, like I say, he helped me out in a bunch of different ways. I would watch my clips with him certain time at different points, so understanding the importance of analyzing your game. One thing he actually did say to me is like he expressed the interest of the importance of your diet, having a good diet, and he always said to me, he was like, if I'd have taken care of my diet, I could have been playing for another 10 years, and so how
was your diet at the time?
I mean, I like to think of myself as like being a good professional and doing the right things, but I listened to what he said. I was like, maybe I shouldn't be eating so much bread, when I don't need to be, or introducing like salads and stuff into my meal. So that was kind of like the start of kind of like a long process of where I am today. I think he kind of like helped open my mind to having a good diet is not just eating the right things right time. Is like so you can dive into so much more when it comes to nutrition.
Obviously talking about being a professional, stuff like that, I saw you say something about Lampard again in a recent article. I thought I had an idea what it meant to be a professional until I saw what Frank did on and off the pitch. Everything was 100%. What was he doing that you noticed, that you learned from and took into your game?
I think I was lucky enough to work closely with him, because when I first went to New York, I had a stress fracture, and so I had to it was my first real obstacle of dealing with the injury. So I spent a lot of time in the treatment room, and I think Frank was doing the same thing. He had a couple of injuries, so I was able to see how he applied himself to the gym work, getting treatment, and just making sure that he's doing everything off the pitch that would allow him to continue playing. Even at his age, he always expressed the importance of making sure that he's feeling good enough to play. And so I kind of tried to apply that as like, okay, when it came to gym work, I wasn't just just doing it just to do it. Like it was doing it 100% trying to get the most out of it, because ultimately it's going to help yourself anyway. Seeing how Frank was, and you know, the level that he played at and how he applied himself, I was like, okay, if I want to get to that level, this is the least that I have to do, is apply myself like how he did. And you know, off the pitch, it was, you know, whether it was ice baths, getting treatment, or you know, how he did the gym stuff, it was always right there. And then, you know, you saw that same mentality when he went on the pitch as well. Like, you know, if it was passing or anything, or a finishing drill, like he was just on it every single time. And so that mentality, it takes time to develop. And so I think, you know, seeing that firsthand in first person, I've been lucky enough to kind of be around him. It was something that, you know, I wanted to incorporate into my own training.
For sure. One quote that I love is, how you do anything is how you do everything. So like, if you're fully focused and you have high standards for everything you do on and off the pitch, it's easier to have that mentality.
Absolutely.
You know, like a simple thing like making your bed in the morning. You know, like maybe, you know, you think that's like BS, but if you make your bed in the morning, you get that checked off. Boom, how you do anything is how you do everything. And then you go into the day with that positive momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. I think, it just makes, you know, life easier. But it obviously, I think at first, if you're trying to do these things, anybody listening, if I was like, all right, I'm going to try that, it's going to be difficult at first. You know, it's not just going to be, oh, wake up and do this. Like, to remind yourself of the mentality that you need to have, it's going to take time, and then ultimately it just becomes automated. But you know, I think applying yourself and in that kind of way, it takes time to develop that, and then, you know, you get to the next level, you start applying it to everything in your life pretty much.
Yeah, 100%. And I think also, you know, there's so much research out there about how you can get better as a footballer and how you can get better, you know, in your daily life, and you can become overwhelmed. But if you just take one step at a time, then you can get into that flow, that positive momentum. And it's, once you're on that train, it's easy to keep going.
Yeah.
You know, so I think, like you said, you know, I think you should take one step, one habit at a time. And also, I think what I was going to bring up is, like, there's a couple like different cultures nowadays where it's 0 to 100. Like, it's either a grind mentality, or like a mentality where it's like not cool to work hard. So like we talked about from the beginning, if you can find that balance of taking from both sides, I think that's huge. And just like you said throughout the whole podcast, you know, how from a young age your mother instilled hard work, and obviously you have top talent, that's why you're here. But if you can, and also one thing that I wanted to cover is like the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people. So if, like, for me, the advice I give is like, how can you find people to surround yourself with to push you in the right direction? I always say, like, you know, as a man or a woman, just be the best person you can be. Hold yourself to the higher standard you can be. And those people will be attracted to you. So if you're doing the hard work, if you're, you know, doing the right things on and off the pitch, like, the right people will come towards you and want to learn off of you. And then the other people who think it's funny and banter and all this, and like, obviously there's a time to laugh and have banter. But like, when business is business, when it's time. So with that being said, what's your advice to find those people to surround yourself with? Because obviously, as you get more successful, people want to leech off of you, you know? So how can you find those right people?
So good question. I think a lot of it has to do with self-reflection. I think if you're looking at, a lot of people talk these days, and you know, they say, yeah, I'm going to do this, do that, do this. But I think when it comes to your actual actions and what you're doing, I think that's one way that you can really kind of differentiate between the people that want the best for you and the people that just kind of like leech off you. Like you said, I think if you look at your actions and then also, you know, the people around you, what their actions are like, I think it'll help you to kind of distinguish between, you know, the good people and the bad people, let's say. Like, as and you know, like you said, it's important having the right people around you, because when you are around the right people that do want the best for you, and you want the best for each other, and you can help each other out in different ways, then you continue building on this process, or you get to different levels through those relationships. If you can kind of filter out the people, the negative people, the people that, you know, just trying to leech off you, or, you know, whatever it may be, if you can kind of filter those people out and you just focus on a small group that's gonna, you know, ultimately want the best for each other, then you'll achieve, you know, a lot more in life.
100%. Yeah, and it brings me back to this very interesting point. I mean, nowadays there's a lot of people who are jealous and they can talk crap, and it's easy to do that. But for me, like, I even go back to the Ronaldo and the Zlatan. Like, when you yourself can look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and know you were disciplined and you had the right routine, it's hard. It's hard to be consistently disciplined. And the people who respect those people do it themselves. And I always think that, like, the jealous people are the insecure people.
Yeah.
The insecure people who can't execute those good habits, because it's hard to be disciplined. It's hard to be consistent. But for me, I've always been a guy, like, my good friends, like my best friends know I want them to be successful. Like, I don't want to just build the biggest building. Like, I have a lot of ambition, but I want to help my friends build their building as well. Like, I don't want to tear it down, you know?
Exactly.
So I've always been about that. And actually, it goes back to something that Noah said about you. He said that you were always like that about your friends. So yeah, props to that.
Well, I think Berkshire, it really helped create this this camaraderie between, you know, the people around you, and like you said, you want the best for each other. You're not, like, you're competing, but it's not in a bad way. And I think, you know, just going off on something you mentioned there, not every day is going to be a good day, but I think doing what you can on those days, it is going to help you, you know, get to that next step. Or and just recognizing that, like you said, is so hard to kind of do the right things consistently, and it's on the other side of that, it's so easy to kind of criticize and be negative and you know, say all these bad things about certain things. So it's just being aware of that. I think, you know, if you have good people around you to help you kind of be aware of that, you know, who you trust, I think, you know, it's going to help anybody in anything. It's not necessarily just football, but you know, like you said, like for your job, if you can help your friends in certain ways by applying these characteristics, it's something that you can apply to anything in life.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, so let's get back after, you know, did very well at NYCFC. You had, you know, all these guys rooting for you and let's say talking good about you because how they are. You ended up signing with Man City. How did that move come about, and how did you know, you feel about going back to England?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's something that I'd always wanted to do is play in the Premier League, and so having the opportunity to come back to England and make that happen was exciting for me. It's something that I'd always been striving for, and I was lucky enough that, you know, NYCFC had the connection with Man City through City Football Group, CFG. They own a bunch of different teams, so having that affiliation gave me the opportunity to come back, and you know, having an English passport also helped too, because I think a lot of Americans have a tough time, you know, getting visas and stuff over here. So yeah, it was a great opportunity for me, and just I was so excited to get back to England, and especially, you know, someone like Man City that's established, and they'd been so successful for a long time, even up to that point. So yeah, it was nothing but excitement, really.
For sure. Yes. So take us on the Man City journey. You joined them on a tour, is that correct? And then were you under Guardiola at the time?
Yeah. So I had I'd come back in the off season in the MLS is different to here. So I joined in like February, but Middlesbrough were interested in me. So I think Man City bought me just to, you know, have me as an investment or something, and then put me straight on loan to Middlesbrough. So I was there. I only had 3 appearances whilst I was there. My first real experience being back in England, but that was, you know, I was able to learn a lot. Even though I wasn't playing, I was learning a lot in different ways. And then in the summer, I went back to Man City on a preseason tour, and you know, Pep was there, and it was honestly I could see why he was considered the best manager in the world, and that's something that I was like a bit nervous at the time, but also excited to play for him, because I was like, oh, he's the best manager in the world. I have to be able to take something from him, and you know, even the first day he impressed me, because I think he's, you know, such a well-rounded manager when it comes to the different things that it requires, you know, being tactically organized and how your relationship is with your players and managing, you know, so many different things. The first thing he did on the first day of preseason, the there was a lot of players, like top players, that had been away with the World Cup, and so it gave a lot of opportunity for the young guys coming through to work with him and work with the first team and see what that was like. And the first thing he did on the first day was everybody was out on the pitch already, and he walked around to everybody and introduced himself, and like he already knew everything about his players, even though it wasn't like the top players were away with the World Cup. Like he still applied himself the same as he would with them, and so when I met him for the first time, I was like, I spoke with David. How did you like New York and everything? Like it just amazed me that he knew, where I'd come from or just a little bit about me. So, and even now, after we play Man City, he's like, hey Jack, how you doing? I can have a conversation with him, and he's like, I wish you the best and all this stuff. So it's nice to have experienced that, and it's something that it was an honor to kind of like play with him and a pleasure, really. So it's something I'll take with me going forward.
100%. And one thing that sticks out to me there when talking about him is obviously best manager in the world. He can be, he can walk around and think like he's the best, but it just shows how much he respects you. Just the word care. And it's that simple, like just care, actually try to find out about the person, and no matter who you are, like if you have a conversation and you show you care, like there will be mutual respect between both. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it goes a long way when it comes to, being in a football environment. You're around each other every day for most of the year. And so, showing a little bit of care here and there it goes a long way, and especially in those kind of environments where, you're at the top level, and even I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting to know anything, but he did anyway.
Yeah. That's unbelievable. Yeah, man. So take us to, then you were on loan to Leeds. So how was that? How was that first season at Leeds?
It was tough, honestly. I think the first year actually playing in English football, it really opened my eyes up to, how passionate the fans were here. I had to deal with a lot when I first came, because maybe some performances weren't quite like where I wanted them to be. So that's the edge about playing here in England. You have to be able to deal with that. And so that year of playing and dealing with the different pressures, not only from the team about having promotion relegation, but also the pressure that you were getting from the fans to perform every week. It was demanding. I don't even have to mention playing with Marcelo. It was it was a demanding environment from all aspects, and so the first kind of year, I think I really struggled to kind of manage all of it. But it was good for me because I had to adapt, and so that was I think towards the end of the year, it definitely got better, but I wasn't satisfied with how I'd performed that year. So I came back again on loan to try and prove myself and be like, look, I can do this. And the second year we got promoted to the Prem, and it was somewhere where I'd always wanted to be. So that was another opportunity that I was presented with. That was I know I'd worked hard to kind of get to that point. But yeah, it was 3 years on loan, and then another 2 years permanently. It was nothing but good things to say about Leeds, and I enjoyed my time there. I'm really thankful for what it provided. Obviously, I'm still with them, but playing for them throughout those 5 years was a fantastic experience.
What was the main difference you noticed, like in the standard between MLS and then coming back to England?
Yeah, it's difficult when I get that question a lot. It's tough. I think it's hard to compare because you don't have the same pressures. You have promotion relegation over here in England, and you don't have that in the US, and so I think that adds a lot to the intensity of the games and from the fans especially. But the MLS is constantly growing too. I think you see each year it's getting better and better. There's either players that have played at top level over here going over there, and you have a lot of good young players coming through too. Sorry about her, man. Good. She's a bit needy. You can just ignore her. But yeah, so it's hard to compare. I think it's definitely getting better. The MLS is as far as like comparing it to like Championship, I've heard a lot of people compare it to, you know, that kind of level, but you don't have the same pressures and stuff. But you know, it's interesting to see kind of, you know, people comparing them now, especially you know, a long time ago they're saying, oh yeah, you know, the America's rubbish for football and stuff, but you know, now that people are, you know, comparing it with, you know, a good league like the Championship and very competitive, and it's it's exciting to see where the league is going, and you know, I'm excited to see where it's going to. So
100%, bro. Yeah, like you said, obviously, you know, tons of pressure from the fans, you know, tons of pressure, relegation, you know, promotion. How do you deal mentally, you know, with criticism from the fans?
It's tough. I think the biggest thing that helped me the most is what we've spoken about already, is having good people around you. I was able to rely a lot on, you know, my mom, my friends, like, you know, Alex, and a lot of other friends that I speak to, and my agent too. I'm really close with him. So having good people around you to kind of talk to about the problems, you know, mentally, and just kind of express yourself is important. I think if for a lot of players they keep it inside them, and it builds up, and you know, it affects your performance in different ways. And I think being able to, you know, almost bounce off your core group of trusted people around you is important.
100%. Yeah, I mean, are there any like specific ways do you like completely like not read any comments? Do you like not read any newspaper articles? Do you not read any art? Like, is there anything you do to just like tune yourself completely out of that stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's always hard because, you know, social media is such a big part of life these days, and you know, even on Instagram there's certain comments here and there that, you know, you can't help but see it. I think for the most part, when it comes to like articles and stuff, I try not to read most of that stuff. Only if it's good, I'll read it. But yeah, I think even, you know, a while ago I got off Twitter completely just because of, you know, people are on there, they're just saying whatever, and you know,
keyboard warriors.
Exactly, keyboard warriors. It can get quite toxic at times. So just kind of filtering out like all the bad stuff, like we spoke about already, and just kind of focusing on what's important to you, what you can control, and that's kind of been a big piece of it. Really, is on how to manage it. There's a lot of noise around, but you know, filtering it out to, okay, you can take the good things, but there's so many things that people talk about. It's just absolute nonsense. Like, I think my mom is probably a guilty culprit of it as well. She's like, oh, did this happen? Are you doing this? And I'm like, no, if I was doing that, I would have told you, you know? So she reads a lot online and stuff. And I don't know. It's important to just kind of manage the people around you, just to try and help you to be in a better place, really.
100%. So 2019-2020 season, massive for Leeds, massive for you. Scored a bunch of key goals for them to help them rise to the Prem. How was that feeling? I mean, how was the feeling getting promoted to, you know, arguably the best league in the world?
Yeah, I mean, for me as someone where I'd always wanted to be, so like to have almost earned it, I guess, by, you know, being part of the championship for 2 years, you know, working with Marcelo, which was an incredible experience in itself, very demanding, and kind of opened my mind up to a different side of the football that, you know, I wasn't really aware of. But then also seeing how much it meant to everybody associated with the club, whether it be fans, staff, or, you know, players, whoever it may be, like just seeing how much it meant to each one of them was an incredible feeling. It's like everything that you did on the pitch to help get promoted, it was worth it for so many people, like, except just for the players, really. It was just everybody that is a part of the club. You affected their lives in one way or another. And so I think at the time when we found out that we got promoted, we were watching one of the games in the stadium together as a team, and I think there's a video on my Instagram of it. But we were all watching the game, and I forgot who was playing, but we weren't expecting the team that was kind of close to us to lose. And but the beauty of the championship is anyone can beat anyone at any time. So I think one of the lower teams ended up beating the team that was behind us and allowed us to get promoted automatically. And so when we found out the game was over, everybody was going crazy, jumping up, and it was an amazing feeling. But then because it was kind of during COVID as well, it was almost like separated from the fans and everything. So I remember, I'm sure there's clips somewhere, but we were all kind of in the stadium looking out the window, and all the fans had found out that we were there, and so they all came to the stadium, and they had like barricades and their shirts off, like celebrating like this. So it was an incredible feeling, and being a part of that was an unbelievable experience. And I think it goes to show that all the pressures and everything is, when you finally come out on the other end of it, what it means to so many people around, and seeing that in person was an eye-opening experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, and everyone always describes football as an emotional roller coaster. Tons of highs, tons of lows.
Absolutely.
So, you enjoy it for yourself, and also the fans have the same feeling. And I think that's why we love football so much, just the emotions it gives us and it produces.
Yeah, absolutely. My agent always says, like, football's so week to week, you can make or break someone's weekend, and that determines their mood for the rest of the week. As fans, they get so passionate about it, they literally live and breathe for their football team, whoever they may support. So having that passion is good, but it's important to kind of manage that. And even though emotionally you can be up and down week to week, but if you, as a player, to play at the highest level, you have to find a way to kind of be balanced through all of that emotion and everything, and try and keep a level head and just manage it all. Really.
100%. Yeah, that's one thing Kobe said, like, not too high, not too low. You got to stay even keeled. I love when he always said that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, man, take us into the Prem. First goal against Liverpool.
Yeah.
What were the emotions like there?
No, it was special. After being with Leeds and helping them, get back to the Prem after 16 years of being out, a club that has so much history, and I think rightfully earned their place back in the Prem. I think going into that first game against Liverpool is almost like destiny in a way, and I think we'd really, the way we were playing at the time, I think we really hit the league and surprised a lot of people by how we played under Marcelo, and bringing that excitement back to the Prem was entertaining for everybody that was watching. Everybody knew that playing against Leeds is going to be an entertaining game to watch. So going against Liverpool, the first game back after 16 years, it was a special moment for myself. So I don't know, even being on the pitch, I wanted to do something special or something, and scoring the first goal back after 16 years was an incredible feeling. I think we'd just gone down at the time, and so we needed to get back in the game quick. Liverpool got a lot of talent on that team, and if you go 1-0 down, it's not always easy to come back, but we had to hit them hard right away, and I think we were able to do that, not only with the goal that I scored, but you think as a team, I think we lost the game 4-3 or something. It was really close, but we were right there with them, and almost felt like we could have won in a way. And so having that feeling and taking it with us throughout that season in the Prem was important. And I think we finished 9th in the league, which is impressive for a team just coming up from the champ, but it's a testament to the amount of work that we put in as a team outside of what people see just on the weekend. Exactly. Marcelo is a very demanding manager, and playing for him is not easy, but we came together as a team and really worked hard for him, and ultimately it gave us a lot of success in that first year. So it was taking the league by storm, I guess, and just kind of creating havoc as we went along, but doing it in a way that was kind of, I don't know, it was unprecedented, really. How Marcelo did it, so it was incredible.
Yeah. So you describe, obviously everyone wants to know, how was it playing under Marcelo? You played under tons of unbelievable managers. I mean, you described his methods as interesting, unorthodox. So what were some things he was doing day to day that was like different than other managers? How did you feel under him?
The biggest thing that kind of stands out immediately is the amount of detail that he sees the game, and I think that's why a lot of these top managers have a lot of respect for him and idolize him in a way, because of how he sees football in such a detailed manner. And even our training sessions weren't possession based or small sided. We didn't really do any like small sided games. The only thing close to that was our murder ball sessions, which I'm sure everybody's heard about. But the rest of the time it was very detailed training. So we'd look at an iPad, and we'd have these drills, these animated drills on an iPad, and it even got the detail was so intricate. It got down to the ball has to spin like this and not like this. This person has to sprint and arrive at this time with the ball, and the ball has to arrive at a fast pace with this spin at this time, and then this person's touch has to go to this line, and then other person has to make another movement. So his training was so unorthodox for that reason, and because he looks at it in so much detail, when you go in on the weekend, it all just comes together, and it kind of just works like clockwork. And so that was kind of like the beauty of it. Really, is that when I first went, I wasn't really understanding why we do certain things, but then the more you go along with it, you're like, oh, it can actually apply to the game like this. So this is the actual a lot of what his training derives from is what he sees in the games. Wow, so it's not just like drills that he's just kind of come up with. He's literally seen players do certain movements or whatever that have created success for them in whatever way, whether it be a centre back doing certain things or a winger or a striker or whatever. He's taken all that information and created like his own drills out of it, which is it's an unbelievable task to do, because there's so much work that goes into it. But he's able to put that work in and demand that from his players, and that's ultimately why I think he gets so much respect. Yeah.
For yourself as a player, what are some key insights that popped up into your mind? Like you said, you're doing the training, you say to yourself, I don't know if this is really game realistic, and then the weekend comes and everything comes together nicely. What are some things? Are there anything specific that you learned from him that you're taking into your game now at Everton?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that I learned from him. There's the fitness part being one of them. I think the everything off the pitch, like the fitness part, the nutritional part, like we would have a weight target that we'd have to hit every day, and if you were 0.5 kilograms or 1 kilogram above, like you'd have a problem, and you'd have to try and do something to get down real quick. Otherwise, potentially you wouldn't be playing on the weekend.
No butter on the toast. No?
Yeah, exactly. It was funny. The nutritionist at the time, before I got there, but he tells there's someone that tells a story that the nutritionist would take all the butter away from the players because he won't be able to put it on the toast. So, just little things like that, just kind of made being a professional like to a whole nother level. And applying yourself like that consistently is really hard to do, like we spoke about. I think when it's so demanding too, it makes it even harder. But him kind of demanding that amount of discipline really helped kind of pave the way and of what it means to be a professional in my eyes. And so applying that, I think when it comes to applying that off the pitch, but when it comes to being the football side of things, I think the biggest thing that as a winger I think is really important is the movement off the ball. I think there's she's barking. There's a lot of things that you can do as a winger to a lot of movements that you can make to beat your defender without even having to receive the ball and then beat him. I think that was a big thing for him, is that if you can make a movement and receive the ball behind your defender in an open space going forward, it's more beneficial than receiving the ball to feet and then trying to do a skill or something to get by your defender. So that was a big thing for me as a winger, learning all the different movements that you can do to be free. And we were drilled with that every week. We would do like the same exercises for these movements. You know, we did the same ones for 3 years straight. You know, so there. So he would drill this into the team, and that's, you know, what made it succeed on the weekend is, you know, just you know, demanding that level from the players every week, every day even.
Yeah, and you also mentioned that how big he was into match analysis, and you know, before every game, you know, at night he would at least sit down with the players, go over what you did well, you did poorly, for, you know, before going into the next game. How did you know, because obviously you said you under Viera you were doing a lot of match analysis, I'm sure under other coaches, but how in depth was his match analysis? Like what were you doing there?
Yeah, so his the amount of detail that he'd go into, he'd have, you know, a lot of staff that worked for him that would, you know, analyze our games, but then also prepare for the next game as well. So they'd be looking at all the games from the whole year that the team would have. Sometimes they'd even look at like preseason games, and so we'd prepare for each formation. So we had a lot of teams, a lot of meetings as a team, to make sure that we were all on the same page, and you know, we were aware of what we were coming up against. But then at the same time, when we'd go to the hotel and stuff the night before a game, we'd have individual meetings with him. So you'd have, you know, 15 minutes, 20-minute clips of your previous game where, you know, it was just your individual clips, and you'd have a meeting, just sat down like this with him, and he'd be like, yeah, he'd have a laser and be like, yeah, you should do this was good, this was bad, you need to do this more, And so you really, and that was for every game as well. You'd go over the previous game. So the analysis there had so much work to do. You imagine, like, you're analyzing the last game, you're preparing for the next game, but then you have to do everybody's individual clips as well. And so, and then, you know, all the formations that we would have to prepare for, that if a team played, you know, three down the back on one game, we'd have to, if they played it for 10 minutes, we'd have to prepare for them just being like that. You know, so it was just making sure you were covered, you were well prepared on all sides of things.
So yeah, obviously under Bielsa being unbelievably detailed, I'm sure, you know, you went into the game like unbelievably prepared. Did you feel any difference, you know, being under him compared to other managers, or was it all just the same thing?
No, I think playing for him, you know, if the team changed formation or different personnel and different positions, I think we had done so many meetings that we were so prepared for anything really that we could come up against. And I think Marcelo does it to such an extent, such an extreme, that, you know, going with any other manager, I'm almost thinking, oh well, you know, what if this happens, or what if that happens, and we haven't really like talked about this, we haven't talked about that. So it's something that I've had to kind of like adapt to, and almost like, I think with Marcelo is everything was there for you. I think almost, you know, taking that and applying it to you know what I'm doing now, and you know, if something does change now, okay, having it in the back of my mind, like, you know, if they do this, I can do this, or you know, depending on what changes that they make, I've already in the past I've learned a lot through him that I can still apply like to what I'm doing now really. Obviously, you know, to the extent of, you know, working with different managers and what they require, but you know, if for whatever reason we've not talked about it, I have an idea in the back of my mind what might work.
100%. Yeah, so he was basically just preparing for everything that could happen.
Yeah, everything that could happen, he had people that had prepared so much for that. You know, there was nothing that could surprise us, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like Murphy's Law, just like what's going on with my cameras, you know. What could happen will happen, you know. The worst that can happen, so you got to be prepared. Bielsa would not approve of this camera situation. It's low standard, man. Low standard.
It's not. Amira does, though. She's here.
Yeah. Man, you know, January 2022, hat-trick against West Ham. I mean, you know, to score that in the Prem, I mean, you know, best league in the world. How did that feel?
It was incredible. I think it was hard because at the time, I think we just really needed wins. I think so. It didn't quite hit me that I'd just scored a hat-trick until like after the game, because I was so preoccupied about getting the 3 points. I think, you know, West Ham's a good team. They were a tough team at the time, and they were giving us a lot of trouble like during the game. So, after we'd gone 3-2 up, I was like, okay, we just need to get this win now. We're gonna defend like to the death pretty much. And so I wasn't thinking about it until after the game. Rafinha came up and was like, yeah, here's a match ball. Like he gave it to me because I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was an unbelievable feeling. I think it's not very often that you score a hat-trick, but I think doing it at such a level, it gives you like motivation to do it more, 100%. And I think it's when you achieve that and seeing the people around you and everybody signed the ball after and they gave it to you, and it's such a good feeling, I think, within yourself, and it makes me think what it's like to be like Haaland or something where you're doing it almost every other week,
Yeah, guy's not human.
But yeah, it would be nice to get to that level where you're scoring them every other week. But it's tough. It's not easy.
For sure. So yeah, man. Unfortunately, you guys ended up getting relegated that season. And like we've been speaking about, I mean, it's easy to criticize from the sidelines and the emotions that you go through and the hard work day in, day out. What were your emotions, after getting relegated and obviously made a move to Everton, being back in the Prem? What were the emotions there?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously a tough one. I think as a player, nobody wants to get relegated. For me, the opportunity came to continue playing in the Prem, and it was a difficult decision to make. It wasn't easy, but coming on loan to Everton this year, it was an opportunity to showcase myself at the highest level as well, and they were able to provide that opportunity for me, and so coming here, I struggled with an injury that I'd been kind of playing through towards the end of the previous season, and Everton helped me get fit and get back on the pitch again, and get back playing in the Premier League, which is what I love doing, and so yeah, it's been like a really tough part of my career, but I'm always someone that's trying to control what I can control now and looking forward. So being here is a great opportunity. It's a great club. There's a lot of great people here as well, and just hoping I can have some more continued success going forward.
100%. Yeah, and obviously once you came back from injury, you and the team had instant success. You had your first goal against Bournemouth, great goal.
Thank you.
What were the feelings there, and what would you say the differences playing under Dyche compared to Bielsa and the managers at Leeds?
I think he puts a lot of emphasis on having quality time at home and mentally being in a good place, and he feels like you get that from being at home. But I still have traits of Marcelo within me. I'm like, oh well, I feel almost guilty having a day off. Maybe I need to do some extra work or something, and so yeah, it's like on different ends of the spectrum. But both managers have their own success in different ways. So it's great working with different people that can offer you different things to help you succeed in different ways. Really, they were playing well at the time, but it was really frustrating because they weren't getting the results that maybe we deserved really. So watching from the sidelines and having that feeling like I can definitely affect it. I can help improve the team in one way or another, and so that having that eagerness to get back fit again and that motivation to get back on the pitch, it was really gratifying, especially having even that game in general against Bournemouth when we beat them 3-0 at home. I think it's something that the fans had been really kind of looking for since the start of the season, is a really convincing home win, and to build that atmosphere again at Goodison Park, it was incredible moment for everyone, and being a part of that and scoring it always makes it better too. But I think for the bigger picture of us having that win and proving to ourselves that we are capable of playing in a good way and beating teams convincingly was important for us and helped us to kind of kick on in a good form, really. So it was great to be back out on the pitch, and going through injury is not always easy, but working hard in the gym and off the pitch to get back on, and then having the goal, it just made everything better, really.
100%. Yeah, man. As we get towards the end of the interview, once again we thank you for having us here. We just want to get into like the last bits, and then we'll have Alex jump on, talk about what you guys are working on, some projects. Because, like I said, you guys did us a favor for having us here, so we want to help you promote what you guys are doing 100%. So yeah, I mean, as we jump in, we'll have quick fire round, but want to go into like two more specific ones. Like obviously, you talked a lot about extra work. You've played under some excellent managers in many different teams, played with many different players, and been influenced in a good way. If you were to look at yourself, obviously 27 now, and you can go back to 14, what would you tell your 14-year-old self coming over to from Man United to Berkshire? What would you tell yourself, like the top 5 habits that you need to do to reach the level you're at right now and stay there, like things that you've learned over the years?
I think the first thing that pops into my head is discipline. I think as I got older, I went to college, having the discipline to keep my goals of being a professional footballer in the front of my mind at all times, and not to say that you can't go out and enjoy yourself, but having to kind of, oh my God, here he is, the other one.
Let's go for the pod.
Come on up. Little boy. So going through college and stuff, you have a lot of distractions, and having the discipline to kind of to be able to say no at times. If all your friends are going out to party, but you it's not going to be good. Just having the ability to say no, and continue with your goals in the front of your mind, and dedicating yourself to that is important. I think that was a huge thing, is being disciplined. There's a lot of different distractions, not just in college, but like along the way. Being able to say no and stick to what is going to make you successful is important. I think the other thing is making yourself different to what everyone else is doing out there. I think if you just go to your training and stuff, you have you're just going to practice and you don't do anything extra or anything like that. You're just being the same as everybody else. And I think one way you can give yourself that extra advantage, or get ahead of everybody else, is doing extra work. And so having that in the back of my mind, there's always somebody that's working harder than you, so trying to make sure that you decrease that at least, or if you make sure that you're the hardest worker, whatever it may be, is that that's how you can make a big difference. Trying to think what else. If I would talk back to myself now, I think having that mental awareness of how you can affect your performance, or just being aware of it from a younger age, I think you can almost develop good habits to make you mentally strong. I think I've gotten to I'm mentally strong as it is through my mom, when it comes to work ethic and applying yourself to your work, but then also being able to have that belief in yourself. I think at Man United, it was like I mentioned it a little bit before. It was so competitive, but then you almost kind of, I felt like I personally almost just kind of went through the phases a little bit. And when I went to the US, it kind of gave me that confidence, that self-confidence to go and express myself. And I think it's easy to get kind of hide a little bit in like the academy system, but knowing in the back of my mind now, like mentally, what it would take to get to this point now. If I'd have known that earlier, then I think that could have been more beneficial. Trying to think if there's.
Yeah, I think that's good enough.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah, really good. Really good. Yeah, quick fire round, and then we'll come to a conclusion. So obviously these are going to be tough in the beginning. Best player you ever played with. That's a tough one, man.
Honestly, the three in New York is got to be up there. They all had like so for Andrea, for instance, like his passing and his ability to know what he was doing with the ball before he even received it was incredible. I think there's I'll say a small story. He was doing free kicks in training. He was just over the wall every time. He was so consistent with it. So they ended up putting like a smaller goal within the big goal, and there was like maybe a small gap between the two crossbars, and it was like, all right, go and like put it through there. And surely enough, he just put it right through. I was like, damn, like that's the amount of that's the level that you have to get to play at the level that he has, in the World Cup and everything. Like it's incredible to have seen it in person and be like, wow, like that's what you can kind of look to. You can use that as motivation, as inspiration. So there's him, obviously. The David Viera is with both feet, left foot, right foot, dip, curve, power on both feet. It was hard to actually see what foot he was. So having the ability to play with both feet was really important, and not only just play but be top class with both of them anyway. Is incredible. And then with Frank and his work ethic, but not only that, but being able to apply it on the pitch and having that confidence in himself to like lead the team in a way. You've seen him lead Chelsea to unbelievable wins and trophies and stuff, and there's a reason behind that as well, that he's able to do what he's done. So those three, I think it's hard to kind of pick one between them, but I think having all of that information for three of them is it was fascinating experience, just being able to see it and experience it in real life. But I can't pick between them three. It's got to be
at the start of your career to see all those guys.
Exactly. So you guys can pick one of them.
Best player you ever played against?
Oof. I always had a tough time playing against Reece James. I think being with Leeds and playing man for man, defending him, I realised how much he got forward and got back, and he was good at defending and attacking as well. So
he's a workhorse. That guy.
But he and even there's not many players that can dribble by him. It's always kind of goes like over my head a little bit. Playing against Man United, Ronaldo was playing at the same time, so he's I think when it comes to like best player, it's got to be Ronaldo, I think. But the one I had probably most difficulty against would be Reece James.
Favorite healthy meal?
Favorite healthy meal? It's I'm really fortunate enough now that I've gotten to the level where I'm able to have a chef here, and so all the meals are healthy. But I think one that really pops out to me is his he does this like chicken Kiev. It's like a breaded chicken, and it's like garlic chicken Kiev, and it has like broccoli mash as well. So he mixes the broccoli in the mashed potato, which actually makes it easier for my girlfriend to eat, because she hates veggies. So mixing the broccoli and the mash, and the way he does it is unreal.
Wow, I love it. Favorite cheat meal, excluding bacon, egg, and cheese and pizza. You gotta exclude those.
Excluding pizza as well. That's like a cheat meal. If I really was going all out for it, I'd probably go for like Five Guys or something. The burgers there are unreal.
Fries different level.
Full
of grease.
Oh my gosh! But I always feel horrible after. I always think to myself, is it even worth having this?
Exactly.
And depending on the time, I'm like yes or no. So that's a tough one.
Top 3 favorite vacation destinations?
My favorite vacation that I've been on so far is the Maldives.
Oh yeah, here it's beautiful there.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Another one, I'm all about beaches, so I love like Hawaii as well. We went there recently. And there's another. Honestly, the last summer, me and my girlfriend went to Japan, and that was like completely different to anything that is even close to in Europe. And they have their own islands for the beaches as well. So we spent some time right there, and then we went to Osaka and Kyoto, which was more cultural part, and I'm spending time in Tokyo, which. It was the main city. It's incredible. I can't believe how big it was, the city, but I think those 3 destinations got to be up there.
And top 3 places you want to visit in the future?
Definitely some more beachy island kind of places. Me and my girlfriend always spoke about going to Fiji, so I think it's far. We like to travel during the summer when we have the chance to. So. Fiji's up there. I think I want to do I've seen some people going to like Tanzania. No, it's Zanzibar and off the southern coast of Africa. I think in South Africa maybe. Yeah. So and then almost doing like a African safari kind of trip as well. I think that would be an experience in itself. For sure.
Bro, it's been unbelievable. I want Alex to jump on, but once again, I want to thank you. Really appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Alex, come on. You guys better follow their podcast.
So, Jack touched on it briefly during this interview, how much of a presence social media has in these days. So I kind of, a couple of years ago, tried to emphasize that to Jack, and he didn't seem to care entirely too much about it. He's all football kind of guy. So I'm trying to tell him that, you do these things, it can really help you out, find different opportunities to do, even when football is done. So, and like he said, he's open-minded. So he kind of gave me the opportunity to take the wheel and go. And, it's been a process. It's been about, over a year now of us trying to get it together, but we wanted to do it right, professional. So it's going good. But yeah, so we plan to start the podcast. It's going to be called New Level. It's going to be available on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Music. It's going to be on YouTube as well. And it's going to be, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff about, what Jack does on a daily basis, what it's like to be a Premier League footballer. Also other areas as well, like he has a dog trainer that takes very good care of Amira here, and he likes to, share some knowledge with, people on how to properly take care of your dog and, make sure that they're getting the right care and you're paying the right amount of money and all that kind of things. Also get into, diet. His personal chef is a great resource to have, especially for a lot of footballers who, are, want to be just like Jack and reach the top level, be a professional. What kind of things he puts in his body on a daily basis that can, take it to the next level.
And we'll get some guests on that too.
Yeah, of course. We'll obviously noted Jack's had many cool teammates, coaches, etc. So we're gonna, try and use those connections. Have different stories from other people, some teammates. And I've known closely, like especially Junior Firpo, one of my good friends now. He's a man. So yeah, we're gonna have different guests to hear from, even some different sports, maybe some NFL guys, NBA guys that Jack's grown a connection with. Just to hear different sides of everyone's journey, because everyone's different. Everyone took different paths and has different qualities that can help anybody. So we want to inform you guys, but also just take a new approach to different kind of interviews, like the new age media. Take advantage of the opportunity. So we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. Make sure you follow New Level.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll put all of our links. We have Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We'll pull all of that below. Big thanks to Rick for helping us out.
Thank you so much.
And we'll hopefully continue to work for each other in the future. Do some collaborations and stuff like that. So yeah, big shout out to Rick. I appreciate this, man. Thank you.
Shout out. Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure you click one of these 2 videos right here to stay up to date with the best football development channel here on YouTube. And most importantly, don't forget to drink your sparkling water. Deuces.